Welcome aboard TED Talks Cruises, the podcast where wanderlust meets wisdom. Join our two hosts on a cruising adventure full of laughter, learning, and luxury. Ken Conan is a cruise rookie. He's wide-eyed, full of questions, and maybe still figuring out which end is aft. Ted Blank is a seasoned cruise expert who's been there, done that, and he even has a preferred deck chair. Each week, Ted and Ken dive into the world of cruising, from picking the right itinerary to insider tips, their personal insights, and behind-the-scenes secrets. Whether you're planning your first cruise or you're a platinum tier cruiser looking for fresh perspectives, TED Talks Cruises brings relatable stories, helpful advice, and plenty of good vibes. So get ready to laugh, learn, and set sail. No passport required.
Hey, it's Ken Conan with TED Talks Cruises. My name is Ken Conan, and of course, our expert with us today, Mr. Ted Blank. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. And kind of pregame here, we were talking about what we're going to talk about today, and it's Cunard Cruises. Am I saying that right? Cunard?
So we're going to talk about Cunard.
See, I screwed that up already.
Yeah, cut, start again.
Boom, he's
we're
done.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so there is a cruise line out there called Cunard.
Okay.
C-U-N-A-R-D, and
Cunard.
most people mispronounce it.
Okay, good.
And so I was very, very fortunate, in my travel agent youth, that we had a representative for the cruise line here in our market who taught us all how to pronounce it. So think about a cue ball. Cunard.
Nard.
Yep, C-U-N-A-R-D.
Okay.
Certainly best known for the ships rather than the name of the company itself.
Yeah.
And their flagship is the Queen Mary 2, which is that legendary ocean liner that people have heard of. A lot of people have heard of the QE2,
Okay.
which has since been retired. Now it's a hotel in Dubai, but the QE2 was kind of their flagship for 20, 30 years. I think it was launched in 1967.
Wow.
And before that, the real original Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mary. So this is the British cruise line that is the brand, that reaches back into the past to those legendary transatlantic liners of kind of the golden age of travel, as we like to call it. And so the company is called Cunard.
Awesome.
So today they are a cruise line.
I have to ask because I'm not sure if I heard you right. Did you say one of the original ships is now in Dubai and is a hotel?
Yeah, actually the original Queen Mary, which was built
nuts.
the original Queen Mary, which was built in 1936.
Yeah.
And crossed the ocean until the mid-1960s, is a hotel in Long Beach, California.
Okay.
And is actually very, very well preserved. And so if you want to know what life was like on a transatlantic crossing, it's well worth a visit. And if you had relatives who served in Europe in World War II, there's a pretty high likelihood that they may have crossed the Atlantic Ocean on either the Queen Mary or the Queen Elizabeth.
No way.
Now, my uncle was in the Air Force in England during World War II, and he went across to England on the Queen Mary too. And they actually drained the swimming pool, and they built bunk beds in the swimming pool.
Oh my gosh.
So he didn't even get steerage class. He was like one level below that, drained swimming pool class. But the ships carried maybe 1,000, 2,000 passengers in normal service.
Yeah.
And when they became troop ships, they carried like 5,000. So, there was no space at the Lido for anybody on those cruises. Yes, the Queen Mary is a hotel in Long Beach.
Okay.
And the QE2 is actually a hotel in Dubai.
Okay.
So you can actually go there, you can stay on it, and you can actually experience what really, we're talking about the end of the transatlantic ocean liner lineage.
Okay.
The QE2, everybody thought that was going to be the last one, and then Cunard built the Queen Mary too, which is also still in service today.
Interesting. And and I don't want to get too far out, but what's the history of, is this where kind of cruises, like big ship cruises, is this where this started, like the transatlantic?
Well, remember that, before the 1950s, there were no jet airplanes. And so you got around either on a train or by ship. Yeah. And so not just crossing the Atlantic, but if you wanted to go to Brazil, you would get on a ship and sail to Brazil. If you wanted to go to Australia, and so there were thousands and thousands of passenger ships out there that were used for transportation from point A to point B. Well, as soon as the jet plane came along, that really quickly changed.
Sure.
And so a lot of these ocean liners were converted into cruise ships. Many didn't make it. Many were just junked, and that was the end. And a few companies managed to make the transition from transportation company to cruise line. And even cruises had existed before this. if you read Mark Twain's book, In the Innocents Abroad,
yeah,
he went on a Mediterranean cruise like in the 1870s. So they existed.
Interesting.
But it became a big business, and Cunard was certainly one of the premier companies that made that transition and still exists today.
That's awesome.
And just a little piece of trivia that I'll throw in. You've perhaps heard of a famous ship called the Titanic.
I have heard of the Titanic.
Yes. So Titanic was owned by a competitor of Cunard called the White Star Line.
Yes.
And so during the Depression, the White Star Line was going to go bankrupt. And so Cunard actually purchased the White Star Line. And for a time, they called themselves Cunard White Star. But they kind of continue that legacy of the White Star by talking about White Star service.
Okay.
And that's kind of how they brand their very distinctive onboard service experience that we'll talk a little bit about. But that little piece of trivia there, if you like it. And the Cunard ships, they very much do pay tribute to their heritage. They'll have paintings of some of the older historic members of the fleet.
Oh, I love it.
Artifacts, things like that. Shows on TV that talk about the history. So it's very interesting, and it's kind of a piece of the experience that makes it very different from other cruise lines.
That's outstanding. I was thinking that would probably be part of the equation for them. They'd have some great history on board, a little heritage. Yeah. Tell us about it. And you've been on one of these Cunard cruises very recently, correct?
Yeah, I just came back from Alaska.
Okay.
And I've actually been on 3 of their 4 ships.
Wow.
I've been on the Queen Mary 2, the Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, and I have yet to cruise on the new ship that just launched last year called the Queen Anne.
All right.
So yes, but I just came back from Alaska, and that's something I think if we were going to do like Mythbusters for Cunard Line, the first myth is that the only thing they do is cross the Atlantic Ocean.
That was what I was thinking. Yeah,
and they still do.
Their deal. Yeah,
and the Queen Mary 2 was built for that, and you can fly to New York, and you can take a ship to Southampton, England, and get off.
Yeah,
they still offer that service, but they also have cruise ships that cruise all over the world, and so Queen Elizabeth, which is one of their ships, has been spending the summer in Alaska for the past couple of years.
Interesting. And is that it sounds like the way that you frame that, it's been other places as well, where it kind of moves to different areas of the world to kind of cruise that area. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I would say, if you were to think about it, and after we're done talking about it, and if you think, hey, this is something that I'd be really interested in, and certainly give us a call. We can help you think that through. But places where they really do have strength in cruising are Europe.
Okay.
Northern Europe, the British Isles,
the
Mediterranean. That's kind of their core marketplace. But then they also have ships, particularly the Queen Elizabeth, that's going to be in Alaska, just finishing up the season now for 2025. It'll be back in 2026. It's spending the winter in the Caribbean this year.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll have deployments in Australia, Japan. So it just depends. They kind of run on about a 5-year cycle. And so next year, 2026, is going to be the last year for the Queen Elizabeth in Alaska. But a couple years down the road, maybe they'll kind of cycle their way through and bring it back. But really, Europe is kind of the core market for Cunard Line. But they have cruises to New England and Canada, the Caribbean, extended cruises, world cruises. So they really do cruise the world.
I love it. What is it that sets Cunard apart from the others? We talk about all these great ships and great brands. What is it about Cunard?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing that makes Cunard unique is that it is a large ship luxury experience.
Okay.
And when we've talked about luxury cruise lines, we talk about maybe a Regent 7 Seas cruises. Those are going to be smaller ships. Their capacity is 700-800 passengers. Viking cruises, which we just talked about, upper premium kind of, entry level luxury. They're going to be 900 passengers. Oceania cruises, about the same size. Cunard's ships carry 2,800 to 3,500 passengers.
Wow.
So they are much, much larger. And so that means a lot of different things, actually.
Yeah.
Part of it is that if you enjoy that large ship experience, but you maybe want to file off some of the rough edges, it's a great option for you, because they've taken that large ship experience and made it a luxury experience.
What do you mean by, I got to pause real quick. What do you mean by the rough edges? What is that to
everything from lines, nickeling and diming, things like that I think they've just done a really good job of delivering that luxury experience on a big ship, as opposed to maybe a little more crowded.
Got it.
Maybe a little more, mass market almost feel to it. It does have a very distinctive and a very unique feel to it, but you have all the amenities of a large cruise ship. And I really like that, because there's nothing like having a full theater where you can do a full production.
Right.
Versus, they do a really good job on some of these smaller ships, but maybe they have six or eight performers in the dance company, and Cunard has 16.
Yeah.
So you just get a different experience, and that's just one example. More choices of dining venues, things like that. More choices of accommodations as well.
Interesting.
And that's probably the second thing that I think makes Cunard very unique. And those cruise ships have everything from grand suites that are bigger than our houses,
really,
to small inside cabins. And so for folks who are looking to try a luxury experience but aren't sure they maybe want to jump all in at the price point of some of these real luxury cruise lines, Cunard can be a great way to dip your toes in that experience.
Interesting.
They're an a la carte cruise, so they're not all inclusive like some of the other luxury cruise lines. So again, that impacts that price point.
Yeah.
And as part of the different levels of accommodation, they also have different levels of dining. And we can talk a little bit more about those, but those kind of shape the experience.
Let's first just take a quick pause and talk about that a la carte piece.
Sure. Okay.
What are for me, being the rookie, I think a la carte, like maybe the drink package, maybe, I don't know, the suites. Those are some obvious ones, but there's got to be some other, what's in that?
Yeah. And so one of the things that differentiates all the different cruise lines is what's included in the price and what are you going to pay extra for.
Right.
And a lot of cruise lines use kind of an a la carte model where they're going to include kind of the base cruise with the price, a lot of dining, entertainment, all those things.
Yeah.
But if you want the drink package, you pay for it. If you want Wi-Fi, you pay for it.
Yep.
Gratuities are not included in the price.
Yep.
And so that's kind of that a la carte model. Some of the a la carte purchases are totally optional. Some are not. The gratuities are something you're going to purchase.
Yeah.
Shore excursions are another thing that either may or may not be included. Specialty dining. And so the a la carte cruise lines tend to have a lower price point, but you spend more when you're traveling versus the all-inclusive ones, which are going to have a higher price point, but more things are included.
Right.
And so it's kind of a balancing act a little bit, I think, for the cruise lines. Oftentimes they'll change things a little bit. So Cunard kind of mostly fits into that a la carte model, which allows you to pick and choose specifically what you want and not have to pay for the things that you don't necessarily want to pay for. Because, that quote unquote free drink package that's part of that all-inclusive cruise, it isn't free.
Yeah.
It's part of the price.
Yeah.
It's included in the price.
It's baked in.
It's baked in. Yeah.
It's in the mix. Yeah. It's interesting. We went on our first big ship cruise, the Princess One, to Alaska. We did get the drink package, and I felt like I was on a mission to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, some people are.
Which I didn't. I found myself being like, that's not how I want to operate on this cruise. Yeah. I don't want to be 10 drinks in during the day just to feel like I got my money's worth. So
you got 5 more to go, and it's only it's 5.
Yeah. So for me personally, I was like, I don't know that if I went on that again. This is just that cruise, Alaska. For me, I just needed a couple coffees. And then during lunch or whatever, I would get something, and that I didn't need the drink package.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and people are different. And another thing too with Cunard is they have very fine dining, and their wine list. If you dropped it on your foot, you might have to. You might have to get a Band-Aid on your toe.
It's like
their wine list is like an encyclopedia.
Nice.
So bottles of wine are never included in a drink package. And if you want to try those different fine wines by the bottle, which is how kind of a real wine connoisseur, they aren't going to want that bottle by the glass because that bottle may have been open for 4 days.
Right.
And so that gives you the opportunity to do that. Yeah. And certainly on Cunard, if you kind of eyeball the tables, you'll notice that almost everybody has a bottle of wine on their table. And so that's just a difference kind of in that.
Yeah.
And again, this is, like you said, it's much more destination-focused cruising. So folks are going for the destination and, not going for a party at sea.
Right.
That's not, it's not that kind of a cruise line. Yeah.
Yeah. I certainly, that first cruise that I went on, I didn't know.
In Alaska, too. You were in Alaska.
I was in Alaska, you know, and
I'll talk a little bit about a more inclusive option they have that I think is a great option a little bit later. But that's that a la carte versus all inclusive.
Awesome. And I derailed you. You were going on another thought. And I'm like, whoa, pause on this.
Well, I think the other thing that I was going to say is that where there's a difference between, say, a Cunard, which is that luxury experience, and the premium experience. It's just in the level of service that you get everywhere. And just an example of that. Part of it is really attention to detail. Mm-hmm. And so, in a normal bar on the Cunard ship, if you order a gin and tonic, it comes in one of those big balloon glasses. With all the garnishes. It's a very elaborate presentation.
This is a gin and tonic.
This is a gin and tonic. Yep. Versus, there are some cruise lines that are going to give it to you in a plastic cup.
Right.
So, I mean, there's quite a difference there. But there's a real attention to detail that I think maybe we've lost a little bit in a lot of places in the world. Yeah. And just everything, from the way the dining experience unfolds and the graciousness of the service. Yeah. And, I think sometimes people think to themselves, they'll hear Cunard and they'll hear that it's a British cruise line, and somehow they'll think it's Downton Abbey, and you'll have 6 under butlers bowing and scraping to serve
Excuse
you,
me, sir?
And people are wearing ball gowns to the pool and stuff like that. And it's not at all like that, but it's a very, 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 very well-trained, hospitable staff that knows what they're doing in the restaurant. And I've been on cruises, I've been to restaurants on shore, as I'm sure you have, where the person working there doesn't have a clue what they're doing.
Right.
And that's it ruins the experience, totally ruins the experience. And that is not the case on Cunard. The service is delivered in a very consistent, very, very high level of service across the ship, from really that inside cabin and their dining experience up to the suites.
That's amazing. I am a huge fan of that service level. I used to be a server back in the day, and I can really, really appreciate
people who do it well.
You do it well. That's something special.
Yeah. And you just it gives you the sense of a feeling of a place that's really special.
Yeah.
And I kind of joke that when you go down a Cunard ship, you're going to a place in the world that doesn't really exist. And all cruises are a little bit like that, but this is a place that doesn't really exist in the world.
I like that. You mentioned food a little bit. Do you want to dive into some of the restaurants and kind of the food options on a Cunard cruise?
So again, just like any other cruise, you're going to have a variety of different dining options. For most people, if you book a stateroom that's in the an inside cabin, an outside cabin with a window, or a balcony stateroom, you'll dine in the Britannia restaurant.
Okay.
Now, first of all, the Britannia restaurant on the Queen Mary 2 is 3 decks high. It's one of the most impressive rooms at sea. Yeah, this is a very impressive architecture in these ships that's a little more traditional, maybe than some of the shiny glass and chrome that you see, but just one of the most elegant rooms at sea.
Wow.
And that's where you'll dine.
Okay.
And the cuisine is top notch. And folks very much enjoy that, but it's a longer meal. You'll have multiple courses and it'll take a little bit of time. They have a buffet, which is a nice buffet. It's a pretty elevated buffet experience.
Yeah.
They also have a couple other alternative dining options that are included in the price.
Okay.
One of them is the Golden Lion Pub.
Oh.
So a traditional British pub where you can go and have a traditional British pub lunch.
Little fish and chips.
Or a pub dinner, little fish and chips.
Yeah.
Very good fish and chips, too. Because
I love fish and chips.
A lot of the passengers are British, and you always ask them, well, are these really good fish and chips? Oh, yeah, they do a good job. They do a good job. And then if you stay in one of the suites or the mini suites, you dine in a restaurant called either the Princess Grill or the Queen's Grill.
Okay.
And those are a little different. They are at the top of the ship. They have really incredible views.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this Alaska cruise, Princess Grill, Queen's Grill is the way to go because you have the best seats in the state to watch the evening, morning, evening, afternoon go by. Just incredible. But they're open seating, but you have the same table assigned to you for the entire cruise.
Okay.
And again, the food is, from excellent to exquisite. And the Queen's Grill and the Princess Grill, they love to do tableside preparations.
Oh my gosh.
So crepe Suzette, steak Diane, Chateaubriand, duck à l'orange. So a really, really high level of service.
Wow.
But, the waiters get to know you right away.
Yeah.
And, you come in there for breakfast and you sit down, and if you like a mimosa for breakfast, it'll be there right away. If you like, they know you like a cappuccino instead of regular coffee, it's there right away. So really, really high level of service. Then you also have access to some spaces on the ship that are reserved just for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are different options, again, depending on which stateroom you stay
Wow.
24-hour room service, which is really nice.
How's the room service menu?
It's good. Very extensive menu. Not just, some cruise lines, their idea of breakfast is an Egg McMuffin.
Yes.
And that's it. No, this is you get the full breakfast delivered to your room.
How fun.
Yeah.
How fun. Did you ever do a morning room service?
I'm not a real room service
You're
fan.
not? Okay.
No, because room service food is never hot.
That's true, because it has to get from here
why
to
would I
there.
want to sit in my room when I can go up to this gorgeous spot and have the most incredible view in Alaska?
That's true.
And see it. But I have had room service actually before. And it's good. It's fun. It's breakfast. So it's at least not an Egg McMuffin.
I can just totally visualize myself sitting in this dining room in the evening, and especially in Alaska where it gets light or dark, I should say, so late, and it's 8 or something. You're having a gorgeous dinner or a dessert, and you're just like, what? Like pinching yourself.
Yeah,
like,
you
is this
really
real?
are. You really are. And then you see the whales.
Oh,
then you see the whales, and then everybody's pinching themselves.
Forget it.
It really, really is. It really is amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. And again, to talk about the big ship experience, they also have the full entertainment program.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Everything like that. Great shows. Full production shows, guest entertainers. Trivia is super popular.
Really?
Very, very popular. In Alaska, they have a naturalist on board who does different lectures. On all their cruises, they have something called the Insights program where they will talk about, they'll have lecturers come on board and give lectures.
Okay.
And actually, the Queen Mary 2 has a planetarium.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah,
so you can go
watch
out
the
and watch the stars? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, not the real stars, but the planetarium stars.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How about like at the show? I feel like you've been on a couple of these cruises, and maybe it's not the Alaska one, but maybe another one. What was your favorite show in like the theater that you saw on Cunard?
Their production shows are really excellent.
Yeah.
And, something I think that maybe people don't fully appreciate, they have a lot of real musicians on board this ship.
Okay.
This is not a place where you're going to go to the theater and they're going to lip sync.
Sure.
They've got a 7-piece, 9-piece orchestra performing the score as the performers sing. They have dancing in their main lounge that they call the Queen's Room. And they have a 7-piece orchestra with 2 singers who sing and dance.
Oh my
so really, really top-notch
That's fun.
entertainment. And then they bring on guest entertainers as well, everything from comedians to jugglers to musicians, and they're just the best of the best of the entertainers that are out there are chosen to perform on Cunard. It's a very prestigious cruise line, and it's a very prestigious for a performer to be chosen to perform on Cunard and then be invited back. That's the real key. If they've been invited back, they did a good job.
Interesting. All right, I have to ask because I think you probably knocked this out of the park. In trivia, do you just rock it?
I never play.
What?
I never play.
You would be so
too
good.
many other things. I know, but too many other things to do. No. Too many other things to do. But sometimes if I walk through, and people are struggling with an answer, I'll just whisper.
They're like, "Oh, I got it."
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. What else about Cunard? What else should
we should talk about Alaska.
Yeah.
A little bit, because I think that's a really neat experience. And like I said, next year, 2026 is going to be the end for a while.
Yeah.
So, this is a year to maybe put this on your calendar and go. So the Queen Elizabeth is going to be based in Seattle.
Okay.
And it's going to be doing round trip cruises up into the Inside Passage, usually 9 to 12 days in length.
Okay.
A little bit longer than kind of that traditional 7-night Seattle round trip. And the good news is that you get to go to more ports. Now, Cunard is also owned by the Carnival Corporation. And Carnival also owns Princess, which you were on Holland America Line. And they are probably the leading Alaskan cruise line. And one of the reasons for that is because they own quite a few of the national park concession, basically ship passes for the Glacier Bay National Park. And so many cruise ships are not able to go to Glacier Bay National Park.
Right.
They only take 2 ships per day. And so Cunard is one. And so on almost every Cunard Alaska cruise, you will have that day in Glacier Bay, which is really the signature Alaska experience.
Yeah.
And on most cruises, you'll do 2 or 3 other glaciers.
Okay.
But you'll also get a chance to go to more ports. You aren't going to just get to 3 ports. You'll probably get to 5 or 6 different ports. You'll almost always have a full day in Victoria, British Columbia.
Gorgeous.
In Canada. Yeah. And a lot of those 7-night Seattle round trips, they spend 2 hours in Victoria. So you really almost can't even get off and do anything. So that's a real highlight. So that Alaska itinerary is super, super well done. And I think it's a great opportunity to give Cunard a try without flying over the ocean to Britain or to the Mediterranean or somewhere like that to try it. Yeah. And just, kind of see if it's a fit for you. And I think they just do such a fantastic job in Alaska that people would be really very pleasantly surprised with how much they enjoy the experience. Yeah. And one of the things we do in our offices, we work with some different groups from community education programs and things like that. And we just actually came back from an Alaska cruise with Cunard, and a very diverse group of guests.
This is your community ed group.
This is our community ed group. Some of whom had probably never really left the Midwest, and some who were very seasoned international travelers, and they loved it. They all came back loving the experience. But what's interesting is each of them found their own little kind of their niche. Yeah. There were some who loved the pub, and they'd go there and they'd try all the different beers. And they actually bring Alaskan beers on board.
Oh my gosh.
Which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it really is kind of cool. Yeah. And they have Alaskan cocktails. They had one, I don't remember what it was, but it was, some, cognac and it was Alaskan. It was based on an Alaskan, I think it was an Alaskan vodka. But it was actually served with a little piece of salmon jerky in it. Yum. And so they really bring Alaska on board, which is really a neat part of the experience. But some people love the pub, very casual. They kind of like that experience. Yeah. Other people like the more traditional dining options. Lot would go to the buffet. But there's really something for everyone on this. And it just surprises me every time we do it about how much everybody comes back just saying, oh my God, I love this and I love that. Yeah. So it is a great option for Alaska.
That's something I've thought of with group travel, like a cruise ship, especially like this Cunard. It's just perfect because everybody can have their thing. Yep. And you don't have to feel like, oh gosh, what's the group doing? Like, the group can be doing, like everybody in the group can go do something fun because you've got so many options.
And Alaska in particular, some people really want to go for a hike. Yeah. Other people, that's too much for them. They'd rather go for that scenic cruise around the harbor or something like that. Sure. And so a cruise definitely lends itself to that, and multi-generational families.
I was just going to say,
maybe grandma and grandpa, they aren't going to climb and do the hike, but maybe they want to take the scenic train ride, and the kids want to go ziplining or something like that. So it lends itself well to that. Cunard lends itself well to that, and actually they have a great kids program, a really top-notch kids program, I would say. So that's
interesting.
Everything they do really, really well, and that's just I think different maybe than some of the other cruise lines out there.
I know you'd mentioned the other day that multi-generational travel. I've heard, since you've mentioned that, it's funny how it goes sometimes. You'll mention something, you're like, I've heard that a bunch. And I haven't always heard it called multi-generational. I've heard, my dad's going to take us and the kids. And I'm like, oh. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you what, I've heard it more and more and more. And I feel like it's a trend that continues to happen where you have like parents that want to do something. They have a little nest egg and they're like, let's go do something fun. Like we have the fun.
We'll make the family memories. Make the family memories. Yeah. Yes. And it right after the end of the COVID pandemic, it was off the charts. And now it's kind of back to more of a normal level. But you think about it, it's harder and harder to get families together for the holidays. That's right. And maybe if you say, hey, let's get together and grandma and grandpa are paying for a cruise to Alaska. Right. Who's going to say no to that? And the nice thing is that everybody has their own place to stay. Yes. You can do as much together as you want to.
That's a great point.
But you can also have that independent time to do things as a smaller family unit or whatever.
I like
so
that.
it is a good option, and Cunard does a great job with that as well.
That's awesome. We're getting kind of tight on time. Any final thoughts on Cunard as we wrap?
No, I think a lot of people have a lot of myths about Cunard, as we talked about. I think Cunard does have a dress code. Okay. On certain nights. So there are actually a few nights where the gentleman will actually have to wear a jacket and a tie. Okay. Usually 2 to 3 nights per cruise, depending on the length of the cruise. Yeah. So some people are really put off by that, but I think, there are always other dining options available as well.
So you don't have to go to that dining room.
You don't have to go to that dining room.
Go to the pub that night.
Go to the pub that night. You can go to the buffet that night, which many people will do anyway. And so it's really about options rather than requirements. But I think, people, and, I've always noticed when cruise lines do publicity, they only pick attractive people who are dressed to the nines. Well, don't do that because that's not what it really looks like on board. I go on it and I'm not I'm not a formal person by any means, and I think you would absolutely love it. The food is incredible, the entertainment is incredible. So it's something to consider.
Yeah.
And certainly it's well worth having a conversation about whether it is a good fit for you or not. But I would really say that this coming Alaska season in 2026 is going to be a great time to go. The pricing is very attractive. Our agency has a lot of value-added programs as well, where we can add onboard credit or even complimentary shore excursions, hosted cruises, things like that to really enhance the experience. And it's, sort of one of those hidden gems in Alaska and elsewhere that I think folks should consider, and we'd be happy to chat with them about that.
That's awesome. And how do we get a hold of you, your team? What's the best way? Is it through email? Is it online? Is it call you directly? What's the best way to talk to you guys?
All the above. We'll pop the contact info down below on our form, but you can actually go to the website, tedblanktravel.com, and just schedule an appointment, and one of us will be happy to chat with you. My team is, experts in cruises, experts in Alaska, and experts in Cunard. Actually, one of our teammates, Carla, will be getting on the Queen Mary 2 on Sunday, a couple days from now.
That's right.
So, 2 days from now.
That's awesome.
We know a lot about it, and it's one of those hidden gem brands that I think we'd love to chat with folks about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. As always, like and share buttons are below. We'd love for you to like and share our program as we continue to grow our crowd. I'm Ken Conan, the rookie. This is Mr. Ted Blank and Ted Talks Cruises. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great rest of the week.